Great, okay. I'm gonna start again. So welcome everybody to the July 17th, 2024 public hearing and town board meeting. And I'll start the proceedings with a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. So now I will formally open the public hearing on a local law to allow the town board to override the 2025 tax cap when we set the 2025 budget. This is not a intention to do so. It is just a proactive measure in case we feel it's necessary given budget contingencies. So, and this is something that's, you know, there's a mechanism provided by the state, and it's a common process in the budgeting process of town and county governments. So with that, I will open the public hearing. If anyone in Zoom wishes to speak to this matter, they should raise their Zoom hand, and anyone at the town hall should just let me know or sign up on the sheet. So, and I happen to know that there are no names on the sheet here at the town hall, and seeing no hands online, I will now formally close the public hearing on this local law. And we will be considering this, voting on this local law. That'll be our first item of business at tonight's business meeting. So great, thank you, everybody. So now I will open the July business meeting. And I will offer one resolution before we hear from our guest, Grayson Scheidemantel from the Community Science Institute. So with that, I will offer a resolution to appoint Jonathan Bates to the Caroline Town Board with a term beginning immediately through the end of this year. Do I have a second? Okay. Seconded by Tim. Is there any board discussion or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Myself.
Yeah. Okay, that's unanimous. Welcome, Jonathan, to the Caroline Town Board.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. So you're now formally seated at the table with the rest of us. And when I spoke to you earlier, we did mention, I think, the good idea of some kind of an orientation packet. So Jesse and I have been thinking about that, so we will provide that, and it might be a discussion, and mainly focusing on internalizing meeting process and emphasizing those things. So we might, you know, maybe the first August meeting, I thought it might be good for us to have a brief review of that anyway. So anyway, haven't forgotten that. So we are working on that.
Also, Mark, just on my behalf, there will be some paperwork for you to provide to me as bookkeeper and
That's right.
pay person. So I'll have that around for you also.
That's great, Velvet. And I was actually thinking of that as being a part of the employee of the orientation package. So great, thank you. So yeah. And you have 30 days to be sworn in by the town clerk. So great, welcome, welcome. Okay, so with that, welcome, Grayson. Thanks so much for joining us here in person tonight. So Grayson is the executive director of the Community Science Institute, and we contribute to that organization every year. They do a lot of good work water testing. I don't think I'm giving up the whole story or anything. And so Grayson offered to come tell us a little about what they do and what they do in our area. So welcome. And I thought for tonight, if you want to join us at a chair up here, then you'll be more apparent to the viewers on the screen. So, and you know what? Did I? Oh, I did. Okay, never mind. I forgot. Go right ahead.
I'm wondering if you'd be able to share the presentation.
Absolutely. So there's always hope. Okay.
Great, and if you wouldn't mind as I go through, I'll just give you a little nod when we're ready for the next part.
That's great.
All right, well, thank you all for having me here today. One of my favorite parts of my job is getting to come visit all the different town boards and city councils. It's so interesting to see how this all works, and local government really inspires me. So thank you all for the work that you do. It's a privilege to be here to talk to you about the work that we do at Community Science Institute to serve not just the town of Caroline, but the entire Cayuga Lake watershed and even some surrounding watersheds as well. Sorry for So is anybody here already familiar with Community Science Institute? Have you heard of us before?
I certainly have, yeah.
Okay, good. Well, for those of you who have heard of us or and need a refresher, or if you haven't, I'm happy to introduce you to CSI today.
Is it this one?
I think if you just scroll down the page, that should work.
Oh,
There we go.
There you go, perfect, that's the
okay,
one.
thank you.
So CSI, we're a 501c3 nonprofit, and we're also a New York State Department of Health Environmental Laboratory Approval Program, or ELAP, Certified Water Testing Lab. We offer three main types of programming at CSI. The first is our volunteer water monitoring partnerships. This is what you probably know us for. The second is fee-for-service water testing. And the second is outreach and education about water science. Like all nonprofits, our work is driven by our mission. So at CSI, our mission is to foster and support environmental monitoring in partnership with community-based volunteer groups in order to better understand our shared natural resources and how to manage them for long-term sustainability and protection. So you can go ahead and go down. Next, I'm going to be focusing on each of the three programs that we do at CSI. So mostly we'll be talking about the water monitoring partnerships. So that's what's next. At CSI, we have 4 volunteer water monitoring partnerships. On this map here, I know it's kind of small, but you can also find this on our website. Perfect. That's great. On this map here, you can see just the wide variety of monitoring sites that we have throughout central New York, especially in the Finger Lakes. Cayuga Lake watershed is our home watershed, so that's where you'll see most of the little dots on the screen.
Mhm.
We have 4 monitoring programs: our synoptic stream and lake monitoring program, our biomonitoring, our benthic macroinvertebrate program, our Cayuga Lake harmful algal bloom monitoring program, and our red flag monitoring program. Between these 4 programs, we recruit, train, and coordinate over 250 volunteers each year. Today, I'm just going to be focusing on synoptic stream and lake monitoring and biomonitoring because those are the 2 programs we have active in the town of Caroline. But if you have questions about the other ones, I'm happy to talk about them too. All right. Okay. So first we have our synoptic stream and lake monitoring program. This is our longest running program. It started back in 2002 in the Fallen Virgil Creek watershed, and 6 Mile Creek was added not long after in 2004. The purpose of this program is to produce regulatory quality stream and lake chemistry data that can inform resource management decisions as well as keep the public informed on the state of their local water resources. In this program, volunteers work in groups to collect samples from their designated stream about 3 times a year, and then they bring those samples into CSI for state certified analysis. What we're monitoring from those samples collected by the local volunteers are nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen, sediment, E. coli, salt in the form of chloride, and other general water quality indicators like pH, conductivity, alkalinity, etc. In fact, we just had a monitoring event this morning on 6 Mile Creek, and in the photos there is Kristen and her daughter Hope collecting samples this morning.
Great, really, that's.
Yeah, just this morning. I said, please take pictures while you're out. I want to stick them in the presentation. All right, I'm ready for the next one.
Great.
So as I mentioned, our volunteers have been monitoring water quality through the Synoptic program since 2004 on 6 Mile Creek. And in fact, 7 of our 14 monitoring sites on 6 Mile Creek fall within the town of Caroline, and you can see them depicted here on this map. In general, I'm always happy when I can share good news about water quality. In general, the water quality in these sites and on 6 Mile Creek in general is quite good. It's very rare that we'll see results exceed the guidance values for any of the parameters that we're looking at. However, I do think it's important to recognize that we need to preserve and protect those waters that are already healthy, particularly in 6 Mile Creek. Alkalinity tends to be lower in 6 Mile Creek than it is in other creeks in the watershed. And alkalinity is the ability of water to resist a change in pH, which means it might be more susceptible to future pollution. So protecting the really good water quality we have in 6 Mile Creek now is of the utmost importance. Ready for the next one. If you want to dive into that data a little bit more yourself, all of the data that our volunteers collect is available to the public on our Streams and Lakes Chemistry database. On this database, we have over 85,000 regulatory quality measurements of water. And when I say regulatory quality, in our lab, we're state certified and we follow a quality assurance project plan. Those are 2 of the requirements that the DEC needs for data to be accepted for management purposes. So management, litigation, our data can be used for those purposes. On the database, you can not only see where we're monitoring, which is what that map shows, but you can also view trends in data across space and time. If you ever want to explore the database and you go on the site and you're feeling overwhelmed, shoot me an email. I love to sit down and talk with people about how to use it. We also have YouTube tutorials as well.
What are those ones way in the west, like near Chautauqua?
Good question. So those red pins that you see there is part of our red flag monitoring program. That program started when the threat of fracking was in New York State. And so we came up with a program that was a little bit more mobile than the program that I just spoke about, the Synoptic program, monitoring for general indicators of water quality that are associated with fracking. We wanted to create a baseline of water quality. I'm from Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, we did not have a baseline of water quality before fracking came to the state. So when folks came to town board meetings and said, look, my water is brown, I can set it on fire, the oil and gas companies would say, well, you can't prove it wasn't like that before. So we wanted to make sure that if fracking were to ever come to New York, that we had that baseline of data. So that's why you see some of those far out west. Those are no longer active.
Oh, those are no longer active.
Those sites out in the west. We
Okay.
do still have about 4 teams that are still monitoring through the red flag program.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah, we were,
It's always good to have data there.
I was on one out
Yeah.
here for the Upper Wego, but we
Yes.
sort of quit doing that, and I don't know, but
We're looking
there
to,
was a.
I don't want to say too much, but we're in partnership, we're working with some folks in the Owego Creek watershed to maybe revive some of that testing. Owego Creek just had a strategic plan
Huh.
because they found that it's really important trout habitat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I will say, I think I told you this, right?
Yeah.
I'm very proud of it, but anyway, we documented a spike in salinity that occurred right at the gas propane storage plant there in Hartford. And Becky Sims, who was one of your predecessors, she submitted that to the DC and EPA, and that resulted in them rebuilding their settling pond. It was a massive, I'm sure, millions of dollars. So that was good. But to your point of, I mean, yeah, I'd be really interested to see now,
Yeah.
can you detect any change in the salinity upstream and downstream of that plant?
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry to intervene.
No, totally great. We're a small group. I'd rather have a conversation. I'm ready for the next slide
Oh,
though.
sure.
You are?
Can do.
Next, I'd like to tell you about another one of our monitoring programs, and I was trained as a biologist, so I have a special place in my heart for this one. So this is our biomonitoring program. And the purpose of this program is to determine the ecological and long-term health of streams, while also educating our community members about the incredible biodiversity that we have in our streams here. In this program, volunteers go out to our streams and collect samples of benthic macroinvertebrates or stream bugs. And then they sort and identify them in the lab in the winter. It's one of the things I really like about this program is it's active year round. You're either sampling or you're in the lab sorting through and identifying.
That's because it takes a long time to go through it probably.
Oh, yeah, it does take a long time, and you don't need any training to get started, either in the field or in the lab. We have an excellent biomonitoring coordinator who's an expert, and she's great at teaching people how to do the ID. We now have some volunteers who she says are just as good as her now.
Mhm. Cool.
Is there an age limit on that?
Oh, no. In fact, we love to have kids for these types of programs, both in the lab. In fact, some of our best volunteers in the lab are kids. They're very good with their tiny hands.
Yeah.
And they can see them.
And they can.
Yes,
yeah.
they can. They're also great to have out in the field as well. I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of the biomonitoring we do with kids in a bit.
Cool.
The reason we're picking through those samples of bugs is to calculate all of those fancy metrics that are up there on the slide, which basically just translate to how many different families are present and how tolerant are those families to pollution. And by putting that all together, we get what's called a biological assessment profile. And that is a numerical scale that you can translate to this kind of stock-like color scheme you see here, non-impacted to severely impacted. And like our stream and lake chemistry data, we also have our biological monitoring results available on our website. So if you go to the next slide, I'll show you a little bit about the biomonitoring we're doing in the town of Caroline. So we have been monitoring 6 Mile Creek through our biomonitoring program since 2011. That's the first year the program started, actually. And we have 4 monitoring sites in the town of Caroline. And this program is a little bit different than Synoptic, where we're not going out and monitoring the same sites necessarily every single year. Instead, it might be every few years, you know, as interest and availability of volunteers comes up. So something I wanted to point out 2 pieces of data to you from these 4 sites. So in 2023, we sampled 3 of these 4 sites, and they're listed upstream to downstream on this table here. And here you can see that as you move downstream, the water quality does slightly go down, the impact becomes greater. However, I will point out that that slight impact, the DEC considers that no impact. So we're being maybe a little bit overly cautious with the numbers here.
Okay, because it would be expected to be normal for that stream stretch, is that why, or no?
Normal in what way?
Would you expect as you, from top to bottom is going downstream?
Yes.
Is that right?
Mhm.
So would you expect the BAP value to do that in any stream or not?
It's not uncommon to see levels of a contaminant go up as you move downstream. We particularly see that with chloride, and chloride is also tightly linked to the health of benthic macroinvertebrates. I will say that 3rd site at the bottom there, that one was recently added because there's more downstream sampling happening for benthic macroinvertebrates, like in the Plain Street area and at German Cross Road. And those sites were pretty regularly coming back as slightly impacted. So what our biomonitoring coordinator has been doing is working her way upstream to try to figure out, okay, where do we go from almost pristine at 600 Road to that cutoff where it becomes slight impact. So hopefully we'll be able to do some more sampling there in the future.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it is. That 600 Road site I mentioned is almost pristine. And that is actually one of the few sites that we do monitor every year because it is such a great site. So we have been monitoring that site every year from 2012 to 2023. And each of those years, it has reflected a no impact score. So it's a great one to use to compare other sites to.
Where is that?
Oh, you go through Sladeville Springs, you turn left onto Hartford Road, and then it's a block or 2 down, it's a left-hand turn. It's just the continuation of 6 Mile Creek up into the forest there.
Good.
Next one?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Does
Oh,
shade of the water have an impact on the benthic?
I think on a microhabitat level, it can, because it can impact then the temperature. And temperature has a relationship to dissolved oxygen, and these organisms really love dissolved oxygen. So it would cool it off, I would imagine.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was just wondering about the canopy around
Yeah,
the stream and how that would impact.
yeah.
Would concentrated, say, vehicle and construction activity
Mm,
have any impact?
certainly it can.
I'm thinking of the Midar Road site.
Yeah, it certainly can. Think about the types of things that run off from a road into a stream, whether it's sediments or salts, all those things can impact the health of benthic macroinvertebrates.
Interesting.
So Mark actually shared a really great story about the impact that CSI data can have. I need to add that story to my slide, so. This slide also includes some other things that CSI data have been able to accomplish locally. One of them was the removal of the southern end of Cayuga Lake from the 303D list, or the impaired water bodies list, for pathogenic bacteria. This was back in, I believe, 2016. We also used CSI data to show that the Trumansburg wastewater treatment plant really needed some significant upgrades. We had very high levels of E. coli coming out of our site downstream from there. And they did a $6 million renovation to the plant, and ever since then, the E. coli levels have been lovely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So is that down in Frontenac Falls then? Is it?
It's in Trumansburg, in the village of Trumansburg.
Oh, Frontenac Falls is. Frontenac Falls was in the Boy Scout camp and it was contaminated with E. coli from
Okay.
Trumansburg, and that's why I was wondering
Okay.
if that's cleaned up or not.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm working there in 2 weeks, so.
Oh,
Yeah, with
we
Boy
do
Scouts.
also have a monitoring site on Trumansburg Creek, right at the mouth at Camp Barton.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that site is usually cleaner than the wastewater treatment plant outfall site.
Okay,
But tends to have higher elevated levels of nutrients compared to the other sites more upstream
Mhm.
because of the wastewater treatment plant. We're thinking that it becomes more diluted as it goes downstream once it
Okay.
leaves the plant. The other thing CSI data has been used for is to create clean water plans. So we partner with Seneca Lake Pure Waters Association and Cayuga Lake Association, and the data that their volunteers collected and analyzed in our lab were put into the Seneca Cayuga 9-element plan. CSI data were also used to validate the Cayuga Lake Modeling Project's model of Fall Creek phosphorus loading, and this formed the basis of the current draft total maximum daily load for phosphorus for Cayuga Lake. And finally, CSI data have been used in several peer-reviewed research papers. All right, I'm ready for the next one.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, so now we've talked about volunteer water monitoring partnerships, and now I'd like to tell you about the fee-for-service water testing that's offered by CSI. So I'm ready for the next one.
Oh, next one.
Yep. Okay. So because we are an ELAP certified water testing lab, that means we are able to provide certified water results to our clients. So we test water from private wells, municipal water systems, swimming beaches, effluents. If it's some kind of water, we've probably tested it before. To give you an idea of the volume of samples we have, in 2023 alone, our lab tested more than 2,500 drinking water samples. So you might remember the maps that showed all of the stream and lake samples. Now add on 2,500 drinking water samples a year. We are serving a variety of folks in the community. One of our major clients are residents. So a certified water test is required for a home sale. So we have lots of realtors or folks selling their homes coming to us. We also do routine testing for folks. So the health department does recommend testing well water annually for potability. And we work with folks who are maybe having health concerns, maybe the taste of their water has changed, maybe they're noticing it corroding their pipes or causing staining. We'll work with them to figure out what are the best tests for them, while not trying to nickel and dime folks to, buy all of the tests, just exactly what they need.
Mhm.
We also serve local businesses, particularly those who have obligatory reporting requirements to the Department of Health or to DEC. And so there's folks like farms, restaurants, breweries. I even thought of one on my way here. I passed a daycare. Daycares we help as well, mobile home parks. And we also serve government agencies. So the Tompkins County Health Department is one of our big clients. We work with New York State Parks to test the swimming beach water. So if you like to swim at New York State Parks, you know it's safe because CSI said it is. And also we work with New York State DEC. Particularly right now, it is the time for the treatment of hydrilla on the lake, and we do the testing for the pesticide residuals for them through that contract.
And then does the health department have their own lab and water testing? Or do they contract with you?
Nope, they come to us.
Okay.
We're on the same road as them, actually, so it's
Okay.
very
I
convenient.
didn't realize that. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, great.
All right, I'm ready for the next one. All right, so we've talked about the first two parts of CSI, monitoring partnerships and fee-for-service water testing. And now I'd like to tell you a little bit about the outreach and education we do about water science. So I'm ready for the next one. So at CSI, it's really important to communicate science. When I was a research scientist, I would always say, what's the point of being in the lab and doing all of this science if you're not out there telling people about it? One of my favorite forms of outreach and education that we do is our Journey of Water Summer Youth Education Series. And if anybody has kids in their life, I brought some flyers of some of the activities we have. This is a really great program. It's one of the only free youth education programs in Tompkins County in the summer. And it's a hands-on way for kids to learn about water science. So we take them through the water cycle through a series of activities. We do water quality monitoring cruises out on the lake in collaboration with Discover Cayuga Lake, where the kids help us collect water samples. We also do tours of drinking water facilities and wastewater treatment facilities with the kids. And pictured here is one of our stream biomonitoring fun events. So we were talking about kids doing biomonitoring. This is a great way to do it. We had one of these events this morning actually, and had over 40 participants collecting samples of benthic macroinvertebrates, mostly kids. So this is a really wonderful program. You can register on our website. I highly recommend, totally free, thanks to a grant from the Park Foundation.
Cool.
We also do outreach and education for grown-ups. So we do that through our annual water bulletin newsletter. I brought a couple copies if anybody wants one, but they're also available on our website if you prefer digital. And in our water bulletin, we write articles about the things that we're finding through our research or to maybe address questions that we're getting. So in our 2023 edition, our headline article was all about what it means to be a certified lab. Why go through all the trouble to have this regulatory quality data? So I highly recommend you check that out. It is written for a general audience, so you don't have to be a scientist to understand it. And finally, we also provide free learning materials on our website. So for example, this is a water quality indicator fact sheet. We have a whole collection of these for the different water quality indicators that we monitor through our programs. So if somebody's looking at our data and they say, well, what the heck is fluoride and why does it matter? Why monitor it? You can learn that from these fact sheets to put the data into context.
That's really nice.
Thank you. It was my idea. All right, I'm good with this one. And you can skip this one. So that brings me to the end. We've talked about our volunteer monitoring partnerships, our fee-for-service water testing, and then also our outreach and education we do about water science here in our community. And I'm happy to take any questions you might have. I do encourage you, if you liked what you heard today, to join our email list. We put out really great detailed monthly updates about the work that we're up to. You can do that on our website, or there's a QR code there. Happy to take any questions.
Okay,
You have a dinosaur in your QR code.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Great.
Whenever you make a QR code in Google, it automatically puts a dinosaur there. I do not know why, but it's you know, it's somewhat charming.
It is.
Yeah.
It adds a little
It'd be
whimsy.
nice if you could choose your dinosaur, but it's.
Yes.
yeah. Anyway, thank you. That was
Yeah.
really,
Okay.
that's really great. So I'll open it up for any questions, if anybody. I mean, I was just curious. You said you're from what part of Pennsylvania are you from?
I'm
Like
from a town
Brad-
called Slippery Rock.
Slippery Rock.
It's just north, it's an hour north of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
It's an hour north of Pittsburgh?
Mhm.
Uh-huh. And Slippery Rock, is that how you got into water science?
Well, actually, the town is named after Slippery Rock Creek, which is the creek that forms a gorge that runs through it. So it's full circle.
That's good.
Question. The effects of alkalinity in 6 Mile Creek.
Mhm.
Is it the chloride ion or is it something else?
So alkalinity is calcium carbonate. My guess about why alkalinity is so much lower in 6 Mile Creek compared to other creeks in the watershed, I think is largely due to geology. So to
Okay,
for natural reasons.
cool.
Great, yeah, this is really, amazing and educational, so, and that was pretty interesting. What you reported on the biological, whatever the index, whatever it was.
Uh-huh.
Because there is, right at mid upstream, there's some, fill and stuff going
Okay.
on, so.
Yeah, we've been concerned about that.
Oh, wow, okay, I will have to talk to our biomonitoring coordinator
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
It's a real hotspot for us.
Yeah. Hmm.
We do have, the town has just put zoning in place with a stream corridor overlay. Where we're trying to keep a buffer zone,
Yeah,
and, so what we're hoping to, I guess, protect the creek more that way.
yeah. And that would be great with the long-term monitoring, you can see how those things are impacting water quality. That's one of the reasons why we do this, so that when either improvements come in or things that are introduced that could harm water quality, we can detect those differences.
Or we're just hoping to keep stable.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
good,
yeah,
it's pretty
so
good
that's-
right now,
yeah.
yeah. Which is not something I can say to every town board, so I'm glad I'm able to share that.
Is it because we're further upstream, do you think?
My guess is because it's a more forested watershed than some of the other ones that we work with. And there's also a little bit more incentive to protect 6 Mile Creek since it's a drinking water source.
And our, density of, dwellings is fairly low density, so that's gotta be.
Our density of cows is pretty low too. So.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
No, it's fantastic. I homeschooled my kids for a while, and
Oh, great.
I have a degree in environmental toxicology. So I
Amazing.
think it really, really impressive. I'm gonna go see what you offer. I've got friends that homeschool,
Uh-huh.
and it's just a great resource.
We have a lot of homeschool groups who attend our Journey of Water program.
That's what I would think.
Yeah.
I don't know how I somehow missed it. When did you start the Journey of Water program?
I believe that program started in about 2016. It's
Okay.
before my time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it has really grown. It used to be called 4-H2O. We used to partner with some 4-H chapters, but
Okay,
for
I like that.
yeah, it was very cute. Yeah, it was cute. And then we adopted the Journey of Water theme the last few years and it became really popular.
Yeah.
And then just because of some legal insurance issues, we had to drop the partnership with 4-H, but
Oh,
insurance.
wow. Wow. Great.
Okay.
It was
Well,
really fantastic.
yeah,
Impressive.
really,
Thank you.
it's,
I'm gonna
yeah,
take
Yes.
some of this.
I also have a copy of our annual report, so if you want to know just some quick bullet points about each of our programs
Mhm.
and also want to know how we spend our money, that's in here.
great,
Okay, great.
great. Well, I'm just delighted that you came out and spoke with us tonight and gave us a real, overview of the program.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for the invitation. I know there's lots of work to do, so thank you for fitting me in.
Well, it's really, really helpful to learn what you're doing along the 6 Mile Creek corridor.
Yeah.
So it's very informative. Thank you.
I had a neighbor last week ask me where they can get their well water tested and now.
95 Grove Road.
Yeah, there you go.
I should have brought some testing kits, but I thought about it and I missed the chance.
I took mine there a few years ago.
Yeah.
I haven't done mine for a while, so.
We're way overdue.
Well, I'm sure I'll be seeing you all
Still-
next week.
And if there's if you're looking for more red flag monitoring out here, let me know.
Okay, good to know.
I know people who are probably interested,
Yeah.
including myself, so.
Thank you.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and so we'll move on with the meeting. You're welcome to stay. You're welcome to go
I'm
home.
probably gonna scoot home. I have
Okay.
a dog who hasn't seen me all day.
Oh,
We can't deny her.
yeah, I get it. Yeah. So anyway, thanks again so much. So stop sharing. And, I will move on to the, supervisor's report that I sent out, this afternoon. Still working on the Deputron Hollow Road readdressing
Still,
initiative, so, and I did send you guys the actual plan that shows the changes. And it's not that many addresses in each town, but, so,
Do these people have any idea that this is coming their way?
no, that's what this is all about, so. This is in preparation. So I figured out just last week that they get the change of address kit. We'll put one of those in the envelope. And so I'm gonna send a letter. I'm planning to write it tomorrow or the next, it's written, but I
Maybe
need.
you can explain to Jonathan just what.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, yeah. So, and I'll share you actually. I have it in my backpack, and since I do, I think I'll give it to, yeah, here we go.
Run out of numbers.
Yeah, that's essentially it. So Deputron Hollow Road, do you know where it is? It's, you go up, if you go up Caroline Depot Road, get up to Coddington and cross over. Is that where it is? No, that's Miller.
That's
no, you go,
You gotta go left then.
left, left.
yeah, left, and then you go up, yeah.
It's a right, so it goes south from Coddington. And it goes, it's a little bit Caroline and then it's a little bit,
You have a map there.
Danby,
I
yeah.
probably recognize it.
Danby.
yeah. So, there's a couple of maps, but this is the map. Steve Courtwright, the Danby code officer, made this. That shows the address changes in Caroline, and it's not that helpful, is it? Because it's kind of.
Well, no, I'm just trying to see if there's a north-south on here, but Cottington. Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Is it because there's new plots there or something?
Well,
Subdivision-
so it's two reasons, so, let's see,
So here's Coddington, here's Deputron Hollow Road, stuff like that, to Turkey Hill. So here's Coddington down here. From
yeah, so on,
my track that doesn't work, it give me sense, right?
this way is going south.
Yeah.
This way is going south from Coddington. So, so you can see it goes 90, the current address goes 99-1-3. So there's a problem right here already,
Yeah.
99-1. And then when you get to the border here, you're running out of addresses, so they've got 9 and 8 here. Anyway,
And what's the border?
it's the change between the towns.
Oh, okay, I didn't realize
Yeah.
that's how close it was.
Yeah, that's pretty close. So,
Okay.
yeah, and what you said about, so. There's no, like, if there are future lot subdivisions, there's nothing left, and this is important for 911 response, so and
Mm,
for guests visiting your house, and so it's kind of a. You don't want to ask people to take a readdress, but it's sort of like you gotta swallow this bitter pill and get it right.
or a bitter pool,
Yeah.
swallow one or the other.
So that's what this is about, so,
So I have a question about, I mean, obviously, this is gonna result in some costs probably for the people affected. If they, let's say, have to change stationery or potentially banking stuff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, that's all personal, but I'm just wondering if there's any way conceivable that we could assist somehow.
Is there a period of time where the post office will deliver both the old and the new, like a 2 or 3 month period? Or is it
You know,
like
I
we-
don't know about that. That's a good question. I think that probably there is, I think there is. Flexibility there, overlap.
Cause if they have costs, if there's a 3 month period, by that 3 months, they'd be reordering stuff anyway, so.
Yeah, I
Um,
just, the one
so
thing
we, maybe we could, I don't know, our family's house was readdressed in Maryland. And we had a couple of years where we could use either, there was an overlap
Mhm.
and we also had some kind of legal paper saying it had been changed, so that if there was a problem, like with a will or something like that, we could show that this is the same property,
Yeah,
so.
well, we'll be getting the documentation. So the way that we affect the changes is the code officer submits them to county GIS, and then they send us a map with the new address. So that would probably, maybe that would be the legal document. We did talk about providing them each we could provide each, one of the fire department, address things to put on their, mailbox post or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Addressing things, so we'll probably do that.
Maybe, I don't know, if we could provide them just with a packet with the forms that they need or.
Yeah, exactly, that's what we're gonna do. But it is gonna require them to take some personal responsibility to change the address on their important,
Yeah.
personal documents.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is, so. But yeah, so I'll be offering a resolution next month at the first meeting on these address changes, so these are all good thoughts, and so
Who's putting those packets together?
I'm putting together for Caroline.
Okay,
And
thank you.
I'm, yeah,
Yeah,
so. It's like 5 packets, so it's not that bad. So, yeah. 6 Mile Creek Maintenance Project has been rebid, and has a due date of July 22nd. We'll see about that. I had a conversation with Bob about that again, so I spoke with Bob and Angel, and they're gonna reach out to the county to see if there's any possibility that we visited this before, but he is going to talk to the powers there to see.
Is it like erosion issues?
Yeah, where, on Banks Road there upstream, it washed out like 10 years ago after the tropical storm damage to Banks Road, and then, so the work that was done there was stabilize the stream. Well, the most upstream stone structure in the creek has been dislodged. So there's a re-engineered plan to put it back in place properly, and so these stream structures, as Barry's on the meeting tonight, he knows all about them, but they are intended to they're intended to fortify the stream over time, to promote sediment deposition and building of the stream bed. So hopefully if the engineered plan is done well, that this won't have to be redone all the time, so we'll see. So
Why was it rebid? Why did you send it? Because it was too expensive? Bids were too expensive? Why are you,
why what?
you said it's been rebid with new.
Oh, yeah, so the first one, we rebid, that was too expensive.
Okay,
That was too expensive.
Like double the projected cost, right? It's
Mhm.
very high.
So we'll see.
did you get lower ones?
The RFP allows us to, we can take a bid, or we may, if we decide it's too much, we can not take a bid, so we have total flexibility. So, but we've gotten commitments from Soil and Water for, I can't remember what the acronym means, but or stands for, it's FLOPA fund, the state funds, I believe, and from the city of Ithaca. And so the project needs to happen this year to get that done, so hopefully we can, that's gotta be by the end of September, so
Wow.
it's getting tight.
Yeah.
But it won't take long once we approve it. I'm wanting to send out the next newsletter. So if you have any thoughts about that, I'll be putting my thoughts together and just send them along.
We can talk another time, but I'm curious to what goes in that newsletter.
There are lots of different things.
Updates on any town initiatives, could be ad committee notices or information.
Do you never?
We've got
have you
the
never-
last one,
Yeah.
it's on the table and yeah.
Okay.
I was asking Jonathan if he's
But
never
they're
got.
online.
I might have, but it's been a while.
But they're online, so you can take a look and.
And there's a public hearing coming up, or public meeting coming up for the ad committee, right? Pretty soon.
We're gonna be doing the August 11th, kind of farm gathering. Where we're gonna present the draft, but it's not, we're not submitting it yet.
Right, but is that a public event?
It's a public event, but it's not officially a public,
So if we get that out, if we get the newsletter, we should. I mean,
it should be in the newsletter.
Yeah, we should put it in the newsletter, because that'll go to every door.
And when is it, when do you need that by?
I would say, I'm gonna say in the next week, I need
Okay.
material, because then we need to put it together and get it out. I wanna get it out before the end of the month.
Yeah,
So,
thanks.
great. Great, I have to thank Kate. We got we were notified like last Tuesday that there's a grant opportunity and we're like, we spent 5 days pulling our hair out over whether we should do it, and then Kate.
We were kind of waiting, Dryden's like, but we'll send you some information, they sent it to us,
Yeah.
what, Friday,
that's right.
3 p.m.
And the first look, we just had so many questions, but then Kate talked with Ray, the planner in Dryden, and she took the reins and got it in, so I really appreciate that, so thank you.
And I gotta say, the Anna Kellis's office and Leah Webb's office and Dan Klein's office were really responsive. They got me a letter of support
Oh,
in
great.
one day.
In
you know.
one day, yeah.
Yeah, so that was just great.
Yeah, so that, if we get that money, that'll provide funding for administrative support. For this grant. It's gonna
The
take.
town of Dryden's also applied, so.
And my final item is, this afternoon is actually just wonky, but I had to go into this contract portal and approve, they said,
Done.
they provided me the contract and said, now approve it, so it's approved, but I think I need to get it back. Now they have to approve it back to us, but it's almost done, so
Wow.
then we'll start working on the town hall restoration project, so.
That's fully funded then?
with
Or is it just a piece of it?
No, so that's the whole contract.
Okay.
So we got, at the end of last year, we got a $375,000 grant for, it's a 50-50 cost share
Mhm.
with the town to renovate this building. And Steve Gibeon, who's an architect, and Susan Holland, who's do you know her? She's Historic Ithaca. She's executive director, was for Historic Ithaca. She's helping with this. So Steve did a lot of preparatory work, examining the building and surveying and did site plans and stuff. So and Cal helped with this a lot. So we have a bucket list of things to be done. But now, as I understand it, we need to work with a historic architect. And we'll carve it out in little pieces, put that out to bid, and then do that part of it. So
Okay.
it's a stepwise process. I think the grant is a 5-year grant, so we have some time.
So what's the
And-
contract, what's the contract that was approved? What-
Well, once you get the grant, you don't just have the grant, you have to enter a contract with the state.
Okay.
So that's all it was.
Okay, but so does the contract include like the bucket list of what's gonna be done and stuff like that?
It has a table with those things in them, but it's still, it's, as I understand, it's still on us to identify what those things exactly will be, which ones. You know, even the total expenditure amount of whatever, $750,000 it's not that much money. So we gotta be really smart about how we, so we wanna end up with a great product, so.
And Jonathan, for I don't know how many years, we've been setting aside money annually in our budget towards a fund to do this, so that's where the matching funds come from. We have them in the bank.
Yeah, we don't have all of them, but
Pretty much close.
yeah, well, take some from fund
Yeah,
balance,
yeah.
but anyway. And, yeah, and it is nice that it's over 5 years, so it's not like you have to empty your piggy bank all at once, so that'll be good.
Is this the kind of grant where we spend the money up front?
They're all
and
that
get
way,
reimbursed, they're all that way?
yeah, broadband grants that way, this one's that way. Eckers Road was that way, they're all that way, as far as I can tell, that's how it happens.
Yeah.
I think it's because they have to. They have, the state, federal government. Have to, what am I trying to say? They have to document everything they're paying for. So it has to be
Yeah.
done first and they have to
Yeah.
approve it, and so. Great, okay. That's my report. And I spoke to, let's see, before I go on, Dan's not here tonight. I don't have it up, but Brian did send us a report late this afternoon. I saw in my email. I haven't looked at it yet, so he does have a code report. He said he would get that to us. Bob wasn't sure if he would make it here tonight, so he apparently has.
Have you talked to him since the storm?
I talked to him, yeah.
So what, did he say anything about it?
Yeah, they've
How bad
been,
it was?
it was bad and they've been, you know, they've been taking care of a lot of downed stuff and clearing it. I guess.
I've been seeing their trucks everywhere.
Yeah, and I guess they were working on Lackawanna Road, it was really bad right there, near Brookton's in the area.
Well, that whole street, man, like 10 trees now.
Yeah,
Have you seen the
Where-
one next to Brookton's yet?
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
that catalpa fell.
Yeah, well, that's yeah, it's fell into 3 parts, hit the
Yeah.
car and the house.
Wow.
Those are county roads, and the county came through today and cleared up a lot of the brush along the
I saw
side.
their trucks were out yesterday, but
Yeah.
they were, Connie was out right away yesterday.
We did have to ask, because we didn't, you know, I live on the back street there,
Mhm.
and I had a neighbor, you know, text me and say, can't you get the town to close the road? So remember I told you I texted Bobby, and Bobby was like, I'll ask the county, it's a county road, like, I knew that.
And they didn't do it.
The county didn't close it, so we had like school buses and trash
Yeah.
trucks coming down and then backing out the whole way, so
there was a lot going on.
they're just, I know
Sure.
they may have run out of road closed signs,
Yeah.
honestly. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
but they did, they got it there, and so that was good.
Well, the county was on Lounsbury very early on, so.
Well, Lounsbury was blocked, Landon was blocked,
Great,
Vanderbilt Road was blocked, yeah,
yep,
so.
everybody's been busy, but yeah, so, so those are reports. Let's see, I lost my place, yeah, so, and then, I guess I'll just, Michelle was asking about any committee reports tonight, so committee reports should be at the agenda meeting, but if you have urgent or timely updates you need to provide, then that's certainly okay, so I'll just say if anybody has anything to offer tonight, then let me know. Nothing, okay, no emergencies, great. So I'll move
Other
on.
than the world,
What?
the world isn't an emergency.
Right.
Yeah.
So, move on to the business at hand. So resolution to adopt a local law, I will offer this. Resolution, so let's see. Resolution to adopt a local law to enable overriding of the 2025 tax cap. And do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Kate. And are there any questions? People know why we're doing this and everything, right? So just gives us that flexibility if we need it. So without further ado, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, raise their hand or say aye. Aye.
Let it be spoken in public that Jonathan Bates just
That's
Um,
your first.
posted his first vote.
Yeah,
I have two hands up.
got two in. So I have to call for opposed. I know the answer, but opposed, none. So that's unanimous, Velvet. And I guess I'll offer the next resolution, which I was reminded to do when what's his name? The fellow who visited us reminded me about it.
Did you ever follow up and suggest you go to TCOG instead of,
I was gonna bring that up at next week's meeting.
oh, okay.
Let's see, yeah. I would think he would too.
Yeah.
So seems like fertile ground, so offer resolution opposing increasing maximum weight and length limits for commercial trucks on interstate highways. Because it makes them more dangerous, because it takes them longer to stop, and it's harder to see around a longer truck, and they have broader turning radiuses and everything that,
Beyond local
And
and,
beyond these subsidiary roads.
right,
yeah.
so I'll second that.
So seconded by Kate, and I thought the point in this letter, so what I'm gonna do is have Jesse generate the certified resolution, and then I'll write a letter to go along with it, send to each of the representatives. And, you know, I thought the point about, you know, even though it's about interstate, no truck trip ever starts or
On an
ends
interstate.
on an interstate,
Right.
right? So I thought that was really illuminating or clarifying, so. Okay, so, if there's no further comments or questions, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Great.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
It didn't affect the vote at all.
Okay.
I'm just curious about what kind of trucks. The
Oh.
the one that is most impactful on 79 for me is the trash hauling. 18-wheelers.
Well, it
Is
would be those.
Those are the main ones?
Well, I don't, so when we asked our guest about, if the organization's called CABT, Coalition Against Big Trucks. So you can Google it up and they have a whole bunch of information. But as I recall, we weren't able to, these proposals are floated by the trucking industry, but there's no specific proposal out there. He's just concerned, their organization is concerned that these things are being considered by members of Congress, so.
But there was, he did mention that there is a rider
Right, it'll get tucked into another
provision
bill.
Yeah.
that would allow this federal law to override state provisions, and so we fought, before you came, we fought really, really hard on the 79 corridor to get the trash trucks out, because there were dozens a day, and they were also going through Skinny Atlas
Mhm,
and through Aurora. It was like just a
yeah,
stream, and the state actually either passed a law or put pressure, however it worked, that they're all pretty much now on the interstate. The only time you'll see them coming through, I think, and they used to travel in pairs, always. And the rare times that happens, I think it's because the interstate's closed or something like that, but they basically disappeared. But if,
Interesting.
my impression is if a law like this passed, it could just open the floodgates again.
mhm.
And also since years ago, I don't know if you've moved here yet, but a runaway truck went
Yeah.
down State Street and crashed into Simeon's restaurant.
Okay.
I was visiting during that period and knew it happened, you know.
And since then, very few of those trucks now use the 79 corridor. They're routed around Dryden on 13. They go to Richford and then they go down to
Hmm.
Dryden and go around.
Hmm.
So a lot of good things have happened.
Yeah, they have to start braking over there.
Yeah.
Well, I use those air brakes a lot where they're not supposed to. It
Yeah.
wakes me up at 5 AM in
Yeah,
the morning.
You know,
Mm.
Right, they're
terrible.
really loud.
Yeah.
I used to live,
Yeah, you got that big hill there.
Well,
When it goes,
it's not too bad. I think they're just, I don't know what they're doing, but it's.
Now, what they do is literally, because we're on the other side of this hill, what they do is when they're going out, they use the brakes just before they get to the hill. When they're coming in,
Mhm.
they slam on the gas the minute they get to the top of the hill, which makes just as much noise.
I mean, it impacts you too, I guess. You
Yeah,
hear all
oh,
the time.
hugely, yeah.
Okay, sorry, go ahead. I digress.
No, that's
no,
nice.
I mean, as the trucks get bigger, then they say, oh, well, we need a bigger, wider road because
Right.
you can see the truck turned and it's going off the road, so now we need to widen the shoulders and everything just becomes not just automobile size, but truck size and bigger trucks, right?
Mhm.
So and then you need bigger snow plows to,
And they wanna have
Yeah.
bigger tandem trucks,
right? With more weight.
the snowball.
So,
So, I think I skipped over the energy discussion.
Yep.
So we could, do you want to offer the next resolution and then we go to the, energy
Sure,
discussion?
yeah.
did we vote on that?
I think we voted on the trucks, didn't we?
We did?
Yeah.
Okay, just making-
So the other resolution
Yes, we talked.
is. Whereas the Sladeville Volunteer Fire Company has served Sladeville Springs and the surrounding area since 1945. And the company is dependent on the service of dedicated volunteers to provide essential first response to the community. And whereas the town of Caroline has benefited from the company's active coordination and collaboration since its inception, actually, most recently, when we had a public hearing and they were willing to use their hall as an overflow,
Mhm.
which is incredibly generous. And whereas the company has shared its fire hall with Caroline citizens for town and social gatherings. And whereas the citizens of Caroline look forward to the company's chicken barbecue, and whereas the company will celebrate its 75th year community service on Saturday, July 20th, 2024, therefore be it resolved that the town of Caroline Board expresses, and there's a typo, it should be our deep admiration
That's right.
for the service of all current and past volunteers of the company. And further be it resolved that the town, Caroline Town Board hereby designates July 20th, 2024 as Sladeville Volunteer Fire Company Day.
I second that.
Mark seconds. Yep, Mark seconded, okay.
Great. So, yeah, nice. Call for a vote?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great.
So is there a way to print this out on something nice?
I think the way to do it is have Jesse do a certified resolution. That looks really nice.
And can we get it to them by Saturday, do you think?
Maybe we can put it on
Yeah,
like,
and they can stick it up on a wall.
Something, yeah.
that would be tomorrow, would be the
Frame
day they would do that.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I mean, do we want to frame it and actually like give it to them, or, I mean, I don't know, that's
Getting it framed would take a while.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't have the time to do that.
yeah,
But if we had it on parchment or something,
yeah, that would be
then
nice,
we could present it to them on parchment.
would be good.
We could roll it up like when I was a paper boy and throw it.
Oh, I was thinking of, you know, we could roll it and put a ribbon on or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's good.
I'll see. Maybe Jesse and Belvedere have ideas about that. Okay. Great.
Are we talking about the trial balance review, and we skipped over those?
Yeah, I was gonna, well, we could start either, why don't we start with the energy studies? I think we should start there, because that was.
Oh, did you bring the copies of that?
They're right out there.
Um,
So.
Yeah,
And, anyway. Yeah. Thanks. So, yeah, I don't know, maybe people will need more time to chew on them. I think we're gonna have a meeting of Energy Independent Caroline on July 27th. So I think this will probably be a discussion topic. Mike Brown, was instrumental in getting both of these energy reports done for us. I forwarded you, Steve Gibbion's, critical comparison, which is very
Very helpful.
well done, and I'll send that to you, Jonathan, later,
That's just for this building, it doesn't include the other,
it's just this building. The other building is in great shape. It's
because it's newer.
totally, yeah, and it totally heats and cools itself with a 3-ton heat pump and is well insulated and everything. So this building, and I actually, there's been discussion about how much insulation, and nobody really knows in this building, but Steve knows by looking between some of the clapboards that there's nothing there.
Oh,
But,
Which isn't unusual,
but I wanna.
well, for old
For-
buildings.
right?
But there was work done here, so I'm gonna talk to Don and
Some
see.
walls probably.
Yeah, I mean, according to Barbara Cohn, they did blow in insulation in the walls.
Yeah,
might have just,
in some walls or
it
something.
might have settled a lot.
That's what, that's what she's saying, it
Yeah.
probably settled, but.
My house is settled about, it's like a third of the way down. So,
Yeah. Anyway, so they have done work on it.
I mean, I found Steve's comparison to be really, really helpful.
Mhm.
And one of the things that, I mean, one of the proposals was to totally replace all the windows, et cetera. Which I personally feel is overkill. And I thought that the proposed cost for that was way, way, way too low. I mean, it was something like $200 a window. It was very low. And these would have to be custom windows.
yeah,
And these are huge.
it was
These
huge.
would be probably a good $3,000 a window.
Yeah,
You've got an energy geek on board, so if
Great.
you need any advice, I mean, this is
I realize,
efficient, but
and yeah, and you just got this, so it's,
but it's all building science, energy building science is all generally similar, just about walls and
yeah,
where your heat is lost, different kinds of heat loss, and
yeah,
the square footage of the walls and the ceiling are the most impactful. The windows are, I mean, they're big windows, but
yeah.
if they're double pane and within the last 15 years are probably
They're
sufficient.
not, they're historical windows.
These
but
are.
they were redone, they were
Were they
redone.
redone?
They were,
They were done with
a
Molly.
little newer.
yeah,
Oh, they're, Molly did it, okay.
they were redone with new
And
glass.
if there's a weather,
And they should be.
if there's
Yeah,
a
there's a store window.
storm window,
Yeah.
yes,
So here's
That would be
the,
really helpful.
here's the, it's not really a predicament, but our situation. So, we just qualified for a $10,000 NYSERDA grant.
Right.
For steps we've made. And we have to decide by like October 3rd, what to do with that $10,000. So that's part of the conversation or things to think about. I personally don't think it can involve the installation for a couple of reasons that Susan Holland pointed out, but like, as I mentioned earlier, this grant process for the renovation project is gonna be a very intentional, deliberate, and slow process compared to what you might expect. So, and $10,000 is not very much money for this kind of thing. I mean, it's a lot if you just got it, but. So, and what we've been kind of, I do need to share Steve Givians with you, Jonathan, I'll do that, because. This building is currently heated and cooled by geothermal, but also there's a supplementary gas steam boiler in the basement, so you knew that.
But I just saw it on.
Yeah, and the steam radiators are right there, they're all over the place. And so and it's really rare, but in the depths of winter, if it gets really cold and this geothermal struggling, it provides the boost to get up to 72 or whatever, but what I've wanted to do, so I should really appropriately frame that. What I wanted to do is, and actually Dave Cole said the same thing in Cal, they're all on the same page, so it's like, get rid of the steam boiler. Just get rid of it, because it's a maintenance hassle, the tubes that conduct the gas to the burners have to be cleaned and half of them thrown out every year, because it's really wet down there and everything corrodes and rusts. And it's weird because every time the energy modelers, we ask them about it, because I say, my intuition, from my observations is that the steam boilers hardly ever come on, but then they say it's doing like 50% of the heating. So so what we wanted to do is see if we can get another means of supplemental heat so that we can do that. Or in an email, Steve was he likes, and I understand, I think the steam radiators are really attractive. I do, they have a historical, thing going on. So he was about get put in a new high efficiency steam boiler and maintained, but then you still have something down in that space that has to be maintained. So I'm jumping to a lot of the conclusions that are in these studies or the things they're pointing out.
So Mike suggested, putting heat pumps.
Yeah, and I was,
I'm sorry.
no, that's okay, that's exactly right, so that's. And so the heat pumps could be, I think. The two studies mentioned different, this one, the BEA one mentioned a VRF unit, and I don't know the difference between these things, but anyway, you could have a mini split. And just have those mini split heads go to the office spaces. But my question, reading it this afternoon, was if the mini split is kicking on when it gets too cold, wouldn't that be triggered by the overall temperature in the whole building? Or would you put a thermostat in each office space?
The mini ones usually have a control for each room.
Okay,
That can go on and off in each
Okay.
room. At least that's what
and
I've
then you
seen
just
at
let the rest of the
Waller
building
School.
be a little lower.
Mark, I have mini splits at home.
You do?
And we just turn them on when we want them. And in the space like my bedroom, it heats up very fast. And
Uh-huh.
even in our living room, I have an open living room, kitchen, dining room.
Okay,
It does heat it up fast, and we use it in accordance with our fuel. We have fuel, kerosene. And I think it's helped us with lowering our kerosene costs. We've had it for,
think
this is
so.
our third summer, so our second winter. And you just come in, you turn it on, and you get warm real quick.
Okay,
I also have mini splits. I have the Mitsubishi cold weather mini
okay,
splits. And it's, yes, I just, when I want them on, I just turn it on and I set the temperature.
Yep.
that's very cool.
You can also get something for the entire building and not just for each room.
Right.
What's that called? And because I looked at that for our house, I didn't want, because our house is historic, I didn't want to cut and
Exactly,
have things coming out all over the house.
totally.
And we might want to take that into consideration.
Well, so that's so before we put in an RFP and put the geothermal in, before we did that, we put in an RFP for air source heat pumps, and that's what the proposal came back. The thing looked like a porcupine, the building. with stuff all over it, and that was
Right.
totally not acceptable.
So Mike was suggesting that you just put them in the
Yeah.
court and the history room.
office, and I agree with him.
Yeah, and I would say, I was up in the history room the other day and it was like 78 up there, so I mean, you can use them for cooling.
Mhm.
And so it would be great to
Well,
cool.
but our geo can easily cool.
Okay,
That's a management, or there's
okay,
stuff we can do.
okay,
And I'm glad you mentioned it was too hot up there. you
yeah,
said.
78, I mean,
So there's a problem.
Yeah.
So, Jonathan,
Just a clarifying question, the historic money is just for aesthetics, it's not for the energy improvements?
no, we had we had envelope and air sealing improvements in our scope of work.
Alright,
That's
and they might say it in these, and you probably already know this, but the best practice is to insulate and air seal and put all your efficiency measures in improvements before you assess for heating and cooling.
like heating and cooling.
Because if you do it the reverse, you're oversizing,
Mhm,
which means more expense,
yeah,
both for the equipment and for the actual heating and cooling.
yeah,
And actually the whole other thing that may or may not be in here is sometimes people forget the whole comfort issue. And if you don't size these machines right, you could affect comfort in the building as
they're
well.
actually uncomfortable or
Yeah.
make it.
Either too hot or too cold or humidity,
Yeah,
it's cold, but your skin feels clammy.
yeah, that's a really good
So-
point. No,
And that's hard if you have a 5-year grant,
yeah,
you can't improve the heating and cooling.
yeah.
It's like a chicken or the egg problem.
And it's exactly right, and that's exactly the problem. Well, we tripped over that with the geothermal, right? Because we had a state grant from the court, $30,000 for AC that we transitioned, then we said, well, let's do air source heat pumps and let's do geothermal. We had to get that done, and we realized that really the best thing to do would be to do the building envelope first, and then we could size this thing really appropriately, or correctly, so. That's why we are where we are, so, yeah, but I don't know if we, and now we're having that same dilemma, right?
Yeah.
Cause we've got 3 months to dedicate this 10,000,
But it could go to another building, it could go to the highway funds.
it could. But that also, for me, that has some of the same issue, because we're gonna be redoing the highway barns. So we don't know what that is necessarily
Is
gonna
it a
look like.
flat roof? Or is it a sloped roof?
At the highway barns?
No, right here,
It's
in this
sloped,
building.
it's sloped,
Okay, well, okay. Is there an attic?
yeah. You can see the insulation, it's a foot deep,
It's like newer blown insulation or,
it's blown cellulose, it's real.
yeah, I just wonder if they did any air sealing before they blew the cellulose.
I can't remember if there's a sheet down, I think there might be.
So
Yeah.
anyway, the leaks in the other area of what they call the envelope, the walls and the basement. Are affected by the leaks in the attic,
Right.
and so if there's holes in the attic,
It's
it
pumped.
affects the leaks everywhere else, but if you spend $10,000 on improving just that barrier,
Yeah,
you improve.
this
the-
stops everything
It
else,
slows the
yeah,
leaks everywhere else. That would be one kind of easy. But if it's a foot already, how do you get in? So it would be a mess.
Yeah,
I think, we can look at it, we should see.
Sometimes they can suck it out if
Um,
it's blown cellulose.
they can suck it out.
And then if they didn't air seal, re-air seal and then blow it back in.
Wow,
But anyway,
We probably
this
have-
is getting into the weeds. I don't want
Yeah.
to
No,
get into
it's- yeah.
more details.
If they sucked it out, I think they pretty much have to put new back in. Because who knows what's gonna be in it.
so is there a way you could tell whether they air sealed it first or not?
I would have to go up there and crawl around
Yeah.
with a mask.
Yeah.
But if the thing is, if there was wood on the floor, like a walkway, like sometimes they put wood so you can use it as storage space.
Mhm.
My guess is they didn't air seal.
Okay,
oh, really? I think they did do that. I think they're planks to walk
Why
on.
not?
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, if there's plank to walk on, you would have to remove the planks to get to this places where there's holes. Cause what happens is some of the old buildings, there's they call it, is a chimney effect in the walls, and if the walls are connected into the attic, and there's planks over that, you can't access
Yeah.
that,
Right,
essentially a chimney
Yeah.
into the attic.
Hmm.
And so that they
So
would had to.
we need a more detailed assessment of the attic situation
Yeah.
by Jonathan.
So, I mean, they didn't, so this report was like visual and then and they did.
We sat here
That-
and talked to them for like 2 or 3 hours and they took notes. We told them this stuff. We did go up and look in the attic,
Okay,
so they did a visual.
alright. Maybe they mentioned something about the attic in here, then I'll have to read it,
Yeah, take a
see
look.
what they say.
But I like the idea of picking
Ceiling
something
might
like
be
that.
flat.
Yeah, something that's easy.
yeah, I mean, the ceiling's like a plaster.
Yeah.
As well, the insulation over that.
Right.
That's in my house.
Totally, but yeah,
Yeah.
and who knows, if this is, sometimes these walls. It's crazy, there could be board, there could be plaster and lath boards, and then exterior wall.
Mhm.
And so if you insulate that false wall, you didn't get the inner wall. And if that's connected to the
And
attic,
there's still a
then you
channel.
have a cold hot channel going up, and that could be why it's 78 degrees in the history room or whatever room it was.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
It's the history room.
So, the one thing about this, I think it was, Tatum. Mentioned the, option of using induction. Heating supplement to the geothermal. And I had actually been pretty, hep on that, I kind of wanted to do that, because I thought it was the simplest thing to do. But what they said didn't excite me very much, so. Because it has to fit above. I just assumed you're just putting some coils in the ducts and they're heating up or something, but it sounds like it's kind of a big unit and then they said. It doesn't necessarily integrate functionally well with the geothermal.
Yes, this may not work seamlessly with existing geothermal.
But the geothermal we put in our house has induction backup at the coldest temp, the 3-ton unit has induction, so. Maybe if it's built into the system, it is, I don't know.
This is probably expensive, and I don't know where the technology is at, but they are selling, maybe it's in Europe, water-based hydronic heat pumps.
Mhm.
So instead of the heat pump heating air, it's heating water, and then you could pump that through the radiators. But I don't know if your current geothermal can do that.
I don't think, these are steam radiators, so they gotta get really
Right,
hot.
that's true.
But I don't know if they can be converted to
They
water,
might be able to, sometimes they can,
yeah,
but you would probably need to invest in a bigger than $10,000 converter.
Yeah.
To go from the way it is to the way it,
yeah.
So, one other option would be to think about. And again, this isn't the most efficient approach, but it might be a more economical one. Getting a smaller boiler as the backup, which aren't that expensive. And, going that way.
Wait, say that
Just
again?
backup, getting a new boiler,
Okay,
a smaller new an efficient boiler, they're really efficient, they're relatively small.
So that's what Steve Gibeon was proposing.
Yeah.
like propane,
It would be natural gas.
because you're on natural gas.
Yeah.
But,
and it would only go on a couple times a year, I'm like,
yeah, and they have fans and you can keep them aerated and they're cheap and, I mean, it used to be you'd freak out buying a boiler, but I don't think these things aren't that much, and then. If it had a shorter lifespan, the amount of money that you would spend conceivably would be worth it, but then you wouldn't have all of this engineering problem. This is one option.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard you mention that, and
You get 15 years ago or whatever, when I was doing this, the really nice ones for households. Brand new that were like 93% efficient were like $10,000 for a residential.
Boiler,
So a boiler,
yeah,
So something like this, it would be at least twice that probably.
I bet they're cheaper than that now, though.
Yeah, what is? So I've got a gas furnace, how would that be different than what we're talking?
So you
about?
use air, or is it?
What-
like a
Oh,
regular-
air, no, it's air.
Yeah, so a furnace heats the air, a boiler heats the water,
Right.
Okay.
and it's different
That
technology.
makes sense,
Yeah.
boil water.
And it gets hot, a lot hotter, the unit itself,
Oh,
the whole thing gets hot. So that space, I've never been down there when it's running, but that space must be hot if you have the boiler in the basement for these radiators.
I mean, it's like stone sides and earthen bottom, and
Okay.
it's concrete where,
And are the pipes insulated? Is there like
No.
a,
No, I
see,
mean,
that's a
I
huge
bet
loss.
not, yeah.
I don't.
That's another $10,000 you can spend,
Some of it might be,
I'm sorry, but my
Yeah.
cellar doesn't get that cold.
right,
I mean, well, the furnace is down there, but, and I
Right.
don't have the pipes inside, but I mean, it doesn't get to be like 20 degrees down there.
no,
because
no,
it's in the
but
ground.
it would, the ground's always 50 degrees no matter what you do to it.
Yeah,
But
what
it
you're
all
saying,
sucks.
yeah, it's gonna,
Your pipe at 110 degrees or
Yeah,
whatever it is,
50.
it's going right to the 50-degree,
it's
Yeah.
Earth.
goes to the big, anyway,
right to the earth, the stone.
yeah.
It's literally a reverse radiator.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's just radiating into the stone, and those pipes that are losing that heat, it doesn't get into the building at all.
Right.
Yeah.
It goes right to the ground,
Yeah,
so.
I would be fine with getting rid of the radiators, I know. you're
But
like-
then it's being picked up by the geothermal in the ground.
No, yeah, I mean, we do renovations to these to do energy efficient renovations to these homes. They were pulling out hundreds of these a year from these old houses, these radiators. It was just crazy how many radiators every year they pull out,
Is that right?
just because the
They're-
little. They would keep the efficient boilers, but then the boiler radiator was its teeny
Yeah.
little thing. It didn't need to be like this.
And then we do know that these,
Oh, really?
at one point, these like overflowed and they had a water emergency.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Right,
Well,
so
yeah.
so durability is another,
Yeah.
comfort, durability and energy efficiency are all important. And water leaking out of these is another thing to consider. Over the 50 years of the units,
Yeah,
you wanna
that's
think
a
about the
possibility.
risk of.
yeah.
And historically, these radiators weren't here when the building was
That's
built.
right.
Well, no, I
I
mean,
mean, they weren't,
what
they were
were
in front of the windows,
the buildings built in the
Every
1800s when
box.
they started doing radiators, 1930s or
Yeah.
something.
yeah. Well, at this discussion, that's not helpful. I'm pretty disinclined towards keeping the radiator system. Just from all of this, we have to figure out what to do.
Yeah,
I
and whether we
think
use
I
this
like the
money,
heat pump
whether we use this
idea.
money,
I like the idea of
whether we use the money for this building or not. Also,
Right, that's another question we haven't resolved, right?
But I like
I
the
mean,
idea of picking
I-
a small
I-
thing and,
I had thought that we could maybe use this money for the secondary building, the highway. But when I did the bills this week, it appears that
I don't think so. I don't think that's right.
you don't think that
I
that's what
think
it's.
it was an AC unit in a truck.
Oh, a truck?
Yeah,
Okay, as a truck.
Okay.
yeah,
That makes
I
much
looked
more
at that.
sense.
yeah. I meant to mention it to you.
Ah, smart.
Michelle, you had what were you gonna say?
I said, I like the idea of picking a small project like with the boiler, like some of the suggestions that Jonathan had, and using the $10,000 on that, but just saying.
Yeah,
Or the town barns, I mean, we've got. I mean, both places need to be heated.
Well, except that unless you're gonna heat the one that they just added on to, the new one, they haven't rebuilt yet, right?
You can't-
So we can use it.
And the money has to be spent or committed.
I think it just has to be, we have to have a plan. That's my understanding. I'll double check that with Mike, but I'm pretty sure that's right, because that's what happened with our streetlight grant.
Yeah,
We just had to have a plan and submit it.
by October, so I just think the town barn thing is kind of still.
But if we had a plan for the new building. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
if we have a plan,
would be
for it,
nice
we
if
don't have
they-
to spend it, the building doesn't have to be built yet.
Right,
if we get the plan, we could at least take a glance at it. And see whether anything like this could be applicable at all. You know, if the
Right.
plan includes. A new heating unit for the town barn. I mean, if it comes in within the next month, we can at least take a look at that.
Sure. Going back to the question about sizing and the building, since we're thinking about if we did the mini splits here, it would be for the court offices. But then I bet the court's gonna say, we need to eat this room,
And you'll hear about it too,
so we need to eat this room.
because it'll take room and
Oh,
you'll hear that it's gonna take extra room in the offices.
Oh, I think that'll be okay. But I'm just wondering if they're, like, I was thinking of comfort in their offices and the historian's offices.
Right.
yeah,
But when they have court in here, they're gonna want this to be comfortable,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
reasonable.
When we had a couple of years ago, when we had the breakdown, and you weren't here. When the furnace wasn't kicking on, because we had to call in the plumber. Part of the issue was this room for Diane. 'Cause
This
they-
room.
Yeah, because they walked through it, to the office, it's just in their mind all interconnected, I think.
So is this is heating and cooling or just cooling?
Heating and cooling,
And it's off the geothermal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But on the really cold nights, this isn't sufficient.
on the really cold night and windy. Then it,
Really?
yeah, and it gets up, it can get to like, where I've seen it stall is like 67 degrees. And it can't get above that, and so then the boilers kick on, so. Any thoughts? I mean, it's definitely doing a lot.
Yeah.
actually,
I
that's
keep my
funny.
house at 67 degrees.
You
You know
know,
what I'm saying?
I have heard that.
Well, so do
figure.
I, so.
I have heard that same figure for other people that have geothermal, that it gets up to 67,
Okay.
68, and that's it.
well, the comfort
And the
issue,
plumber who was here said the same thing.
The what?
The plumber who came to he said the same thing.
Yeah, so I've heard of other people that have them, and they said, and so they supplement with heat pumps.
I just wanna say, I mean. We have ground source heat pumps at our house and it maintains heat wherever you set it, so 72, whatever, 74,
it's the issue of comfort, and so these big windows
yeah.
are a factor. The high ceilings are a factor, and then depending on, really what you would need to do, and if there's not asbestos in the building anywhere, hopefully. You could do a blower door test, which they should have recommended if they didn't. Which is putting a big fan in a door and measuring the leakage. And if it's very high. That affects, that's really one of the major effects of comfort and energy efficiency is the holes
Yeah,
in the
Yeah.
building.
And then
wouldn't a blower door test
Yeah.
really kind of tell us the answer to
didn't they do that?
how much insulation is it? No, they didn't,
No, it tells you how leaky the building is
okay,
for airflow. When you
Okay.
mentioned wind, that was to me was a trigger.
yeah.
As the wind goes across the building, it creates a pressure vacuum, essentially the same as a blower door test.
Yeah,
And essentially what's happening is the warm air is sucking out the building.
Yeah.
And with a really good person that knows how to run a blower door test, they can go around in the building and look to see where the leaks are. And if they can find 25% of the biggest leaks, that's a significant, very quick solution.
yeah,
And that again, it's the ceiling, if we could assess the attic. That's where the biggest bang for the buck is for that kind of improvement. The wind is a factor and pressure issue,
yeah, okay.
so, but. Yeah, is that, I don't know how you go forward with how that gets done. Do you take volunteers or do you need to hire somebody to come do that?
To do the blower door,
Well, that or actually just, going around and visually inspecting for leaks.
I mean, I think NYSERDA would, I had a study done in my house and NYSERDA paid for it, so I'm not sure why there wouldn't be something.
Municipal is sometimes. Oh, you know what is sometimes these programs, they have residential programs and they have municipal programs.
Yeah,
So I don't know if NYSERDA has municipal
Yeah,
programs,
I don't know. Well, so,
but I can look into that if you want me to,
sure.
the NYSERDA,
The BEA folks, or yeah, the BEA folks, they had a whole list of nice incentives and stuff, so that might be worth looking at. But the Tatum study was funded with 5,000 that we got from NYSERDA, so,
okay,
but
but they
they
didn't do a blow door.
didn't do a blower door.
that's fun.
That didn't include that, and so, yeah, I don't know. That, I don't know why. I'm, now that you mention it, I don't know why we didn't insist on that or talk about it. It seems pretty obvious that should have been part of it. Okay, well, I think we have a lot to think about, right?
Mhm.
We're not gonna solve it, but
Yeah.
I would say maybe are we pretty much in agreement that it'd probably be a good idea to get rid of the radiators if we can? That seem like they're not,
I mean, it'll be a cost and it is not necessarily solving an energy issue,
no,
it's just an aesthetic issue.
but we should be able to replace them with something that works better, right? Maybe not,
I think I would only do it if you're replacing the boiler, honestly. I
okay,
don't think you're gaining much efficiency by just doing the radiators without a boiler change. I don't think. But I'm not an expert on that end of things.
okay, so you're saying if we got a high efficiency boiler,
Yes, they should replace the radiators.
should replace them,
Yes.
right,
But it's a much higher cost when you do that.
yeah,
They might not even work with these old things.
yeah,
It's possible. Cause it's a lot of volume and those
yeah,
efficiency boilers work on low volumes, I think,
yeah,
so.
The community center recently got a new boiler system.
oh, did they?
Yeah,
I should check in with them,
I mean, it might have been like
Nancy,
7 or 8 years, but
or Mark.
Well, it sounds like part of what we need is better testing for how,
Assessment.
better assessment.
yeah.
Area,
So I don't know, if we can get that paid for by somebody, that would be worth it, I think.
And I'd also like not to forget the highway barns, because that might be, I mean, we don't want to not use this 10,000. But if we're stuck on this building because of the historic steps we need to take, with that grant, then
yeah,
we need to look at the highway barns to see if there's a place we can.
Yeah, I
use
agree,
money
and
there.
I talked to Bob about that, so.
Okay.
Oh, I got some mosquito bites last night. Okay,
Okay.
good, shall we move on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is really good. I mean, it's helpful.
Yeah, good,
Okay.
thank you, and,
I'm wondering, just one last thing. if
yeah,
You could ask Tatum why they didn't do the blood test. I mean, maybe there's a logic
Yeah,
for them.
Right.
that's why I asked about asbestos.
Yeah,
They won't do it if there's old insulation that had, cause sometimes insulation had asbestos in it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Or
I
if
think-
the insulation on the pipes sometimes have asbestos,
Or if they've got lead in the insulation. What about lead? Not so
not
much.
so much,
Okay.
but,
we did have a asbestos test done.
okay.
A good while back, and I think it was negative.
All right.
I'll see if I can dig
I
it.
mean, sometimes these programs past a certain age of building, they just assume it's in the building somewhere and they don't wanna mess around with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That's
possible.
what my thought.
That there
so.
might be.
Yeah.
I know there's a rule like. So we had the ceiling pulled down and they had to tent the whole room and wear. Covered stuff, assuming there was lead, assuming there was asbestos.
Depends on who your builder is.
And the food builders. And when we had to pay for extra money because it was, for the plaster ceiling to be disposed of, so.
No, I had that kind of, that asbestos insulation in my house in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
I had to get it taken out, but they have it's a class action thing and I got half of it taken reimbursed, but
But I have a very flat white ceiling now. You guys have to come see it. It's
Ah.
flat and white. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the trial balance
right,
and
okay.
budget. I mean, I just sent this out this afternoon,
I
but
had, I didn't,
Right.
yeah, that's okay. And
I did not.
you
get a
know,
chance to look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, the main thing to do is glance down the right-hand column and see if, you know, for expenses, if they're about 50%, because this is halfway through the year. And so, but, you know, yeah. So I sent it out today, I'll resend it.
because wait, Jonathan doesn't have his.
Yeah, I
no,
need to send it to Jonathan.
Yeah, you have to go get a town email.
Yeah, we'll let them know. So, oh, I see now,
Yeah, I haven't even looked at this.
yeah. So you'll see that now, one thing I'm just noticing now, and Velvet, you can comment if you have comments, but there's a reserve now for each fund for the New York class account that we just opened, the New York class savings account.
Good.
Oh, right. Yeah. Maybe you could explain to Jonathan what New York cost savings is.
It gives us a lot of interest.
It's like a governmental interest account.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, so,
I think
Summer.
last month we earned, oh, don't really quote me, but I almost think it was like over $700
hmm,
in one. And like 9 in the other, when normally we would be making maybe 100 in each.
Okay. Great.
yeah,
So Mark, would you just mind, say, going to the general fund A? So 531, the balance,
which one?
I'm just trying to understand what I don't see is where our budgeted figure is on these columns. See what I'm saying? So I see the total balances, but I don't see what we aimed to spend for the year. You hear what I'm saying?
For the
Yeah.
expenditures?
Yeah. In other words, I don't see the budgeted
So that's the left-hand,
budgeted figure.
left-hand column is the budgeted figure, that's the modified budget, so that would include any transfers we've done up till now.
But that's the balance. So what I'm just asking.
That's the right hand, so the right hand or the second to right hand is the unencumbered balance.
Okay, I get it now. I think.
Yep. So the far left column is,
Which says balance 531. That's the far left column, is that what we're talking about?
which account?
Say just general fund A, the first.
Oh, you're looking at something else here, so,
Oh, I'm looking at the monthly report of supervisor, sorry. No wonder I couldn't figure
This
it out.
is,
a,
I'm looking at the general balance. Sure. I'm not even looking at the right thing.
so we're just starting to work on the budget. Right.
For 2025.
no, I think I did it, I think I might have printed copies for you guys over there in the printer.
Oh,
Should I go get them?
well,
Or is it too late?
No.
yeah, we
Too
do,
late, yeah.
I'll look at it. and
I
like-
mean,
Okay.
we can just
That
look
makes
at
much
it.
more sense.
Yeah, we can just look at it.
So why don't we push this discussion to the next meeting?
Yeah,
I think that's a good
Mhm.
idea.
That way I can get it.
So
Yeah,
everyone
me
has
too.
a chance to
That's
look
Give
at
us
it,
a good idea of where we stand.
yeah.
So you were saying it's important to at least see that we're around 50%.
Well, that's a good way to judge,
Okay.
yeah, kind of as, and you know, so,
Well, generally, the way that we budget, Jonathan, is we tend to end the year with fund balances. So to do this now, we just get a sense of what that's looking like. I mean, we tend to budget conservatively overall.
And remind me what our funds,
So-
what are the funds?
What I meant to say is we tend not to be
We tend to have some leftover.
Yeah, we tend to be
Oh.
careful in our budgeting, so we usually budget high.
But like I saw here on the agenda, there's all these A fund, DA fund,
Yeah.
SL fund, what are those fund?
Yeah,
That's something else?
That's a monthly bill.
no, that's exactly right.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly right. So, okay, so first of all, let's push this to the next meeting.
That's fine, you can also discuss that in the next meeting.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna jump to that
Oh,
next,
okay, okay.
but just before we put this away, so I think I did, or I will make paper copies for you guys for this so that we can actually
Yeah, that'd be
look
good.
through it. And then start our budget discussions, so, so that's good to move us along, so I will, Jonathan asked about the A fund, DA fund and SL fund. So A fund is the general fund. So that's what all the town expenses come from that, except highway is separate. That's DA fund. So DA equals highway fund. There are some lines in the A fund that are paid, like the highway superintendent's salary is paid from the A fund. And there are some garage expenses that are paid by, so those are the three basic funds. We also have a fire fund for our fire department payments. But that's usually early in the year, and then we don't have to worry about it after that, so. And then when Velvet prints these, so they're called trial balance. I started calling them the supervisor's accounting report by month. It's the same thing. So those report accounting information for each of those funds separately. So you'll go through, you'll see first there's the A fund, and then there's the DA fund, and then there's streetlight, and then there's the fire. Those are the four funds we have. And so you can, so yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll go through this next time, and do you have anything to add to that, Velvet? You want to say?
No, that's pretty much it, but, we could really go over it more with Jonathan during the getting used to what we're doing stuff and just
Mhm.
go through that kind of stuff with him then.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
in the orientation.
welcome.
Yeah, okay. Great, so without further ado, I'll offer the transfer resolution. So that's just to move money around so that there's enough money in the expense line to pay for whatever we've had to pay for. So the first one is $850 going from the Highway Barn Reserve, A230, to the Highway Barn Reserve Expenditure Account, A1620.441. And then the other transfers between two different expenditure accounts. So that's $33.27 from the highway workers' comp account to the highway unemployment account. And these are just little tweaks to make things zero out in one line, so. So I'm offering that resolution.
I'll second.
Seconded by Michelle. Any questions about that? No further questions. I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. And then I'll offer the bill payment resolution. Resolve the Caroline Town Board hereby approves payment of the audited vouchers with the following totals. A fund, the amount is different than what I printed for you because I added a couple. So the A fund is $14,392.47. DA fund is $21,030.40, and streetlight fund is $310.05. Seconded by Tim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Great. Okay, I will, yeah, have people had a chance to look at the minutes of July 10th?
I looked at them, they're good,
Were they fine?
yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I looked at it too. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't.
the minutes of July 10th are approved. Thank you. And I will, so for the next meeting will be August 7th, a couple weeks down the line. I will be sharing with you, so I have a final copy of the subdivision review law, and I'll be sharing that with you guys. So that is what I'll be introducing at that meeting. And then setting the public hearing, and I'll be working with Nan to do the seeker process.
Did you hear back from her today about that?
Didn't hear back, at least as far as I know,
Okay.
but I think,
If she can't do it, I bet you and I could do it.
yeah, I think
Based
so
on,
too. I might call her just to,
because I think what she wanted us to do, but
you think she wanted us to do
I
it?
got that impression, but see if she'll do it.
I think she was kind of offering to do it,
Yeah, oh, did you? Okay.
so, yeah, but I'll see what she said. If she's really
Yeah.
tight, we'll just do it.
Yeah.
So that's a great point. So expect that on August 7th. And then so introduction. And we will then we'll do let's use the same trial balance, so it's 50%. Not the 7/12.
Right.
And then we can have an introductory budget discussion, just what we anticipate we're gonna need to think about for next year. So I have to submit a first budget by September 20th, so that's,
So if we introduce the subdivision law at the agenda meeting, then we have the public hearing at the business meeting, or when do we do the seeker? In relationship to that? That's
so
what I was trying to remember.
we will start from my discussion with Nan, so we'll do part 1 at the agenda meeting when I introduce it.
Okay.
And then part 2 and 3, we'll probably do those after the public hearing.
Right, that's right, okay.
So she said it's the good practice to do those after the public hearing, so you can incorporate anything you
Right.
really want to, so.
What's the seeker?
State Environmental Quality Review Act, and it's just, it's a review formality that's required to different degrees for different actions. So,
What's the action in this case?
this action is adopting a local law for lot subdivision. So we did we did this process for the zoning law. Maybe you watched us do that.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, so, and all those documents are on the website.
All right.
And we have an extant subdivision law, but the zoning law overrides it, so we're redoing the subdivision law so that it corresponds with the zoning law.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
it's more seamless with it, but yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if if you already have a subdivision law. And then if you replace and revise it. I would think the questions about environmental impact would be quite minimal.
Well, that's why I thought that Nan said that section 1 or part 1 is probably gonna be
Pretty small, pretty
pretty
short,
small.
yeah. Okay. Let's see where that goes. Okay, great. So I think that's about it. I don't have anything else. Did we cover everything?
We got an email from the board this afternoon.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see a resolution
There was nothing.
or a plan, so,
Wait, what was
There
it?
was a one-line resolution.
We got a,
One
oh,
sentence,
from the
a
board.
one-sentence
That's right.
resolution.
For what?
I think
So we're
that,
back to square one all over again.
I think
well, not really, but yeah, what, did you see it?
I did see it. I looked at, what she sent. I don't know what the grant is. I
Right,
don't know what she's talking about applying for. She's talking about security, things, and I'd like to know what specifically.
we just need to respond to her and basically tell her we need the same information this time that
Right,
we asked for the last time.
right. But I'm thinking back, she had asked for to have a security officer here. right?
Well, I don't know. if-
Well,
I mean, I just don't even know what she's asking. when she's
Right, so
talking
I don't
about
wanna
campus system.
guess what it is, but so, so anyway, I'll ask her, I'll just say that the board, would like, the specifics of what the grant would be about before we can consider the resolution. I
Oh,
did
you
not,
would like,
I didn't,
like knowing the name of the grant and.
It's the
Yeah.
grant that they're applying for.
so I did not see, actually a resolution. I didn't see it, but maybe there was something I should have punched or
I
something.
thought
Curious.
that she just wrote this one line and she thought that was a
Oh,
resolution,
okay, so.
but it doesn't matter because it was so vague.
mhm,
that
It was a
could have
state
been
grant.
Anything.
Okay,
To address court security deficiencies.
yeah, so
Yeah.
this is the JCAP grant, the
Yeah.
Justice Court Administration something program.
Okay, is that the same one she worked on before?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's just like, it's a grant. I don't know what the grant, I don't know what she's asking for.
Right,
Right,
I'm just saying that's what the grant opportunity is.
okay, but that grant opportunity. was
The
one that
courts
she-
can do this. It's 30,000 a year that they're allowed to ask for.
there's a screen, there was an attachment that you didn't see,
Yeah, okay, so I couldn't see that.
so it says,
And this is to have a
Oh,
bailiff
there it
here or
is,
something?
Jay.
No,
this is
No, there's-
this says the board of the town of Caroline authorizes the town court to apply for JCAP grant in the 2024-25 grant cycle, up to $30,000,
for what?
up to $30,000.
Yes, okay. So I think her stance is she's just looking for authorization to do this. But
Who's she? Is it?
It's Susan Barr.
Judge,
Susan Barr.
Judge.
So I think we need to know what the details are. So I'll just ask her that.
So we don't know what the question of security deficiency is. Is that something we need to find out?
Yeah,
What
that's
that
what I
is.
asked her.
So a bailiff is.
She didn't say
different,
that.
No,
Right,
she didn't say anything, I said that.
She said that.
I said because of past situation.
but how else do you address security deficiencies in court?
It might be additional cameras. It might be,
Additional.
I don't know, it could be a lot of things, so.
So that's why I have to ask.
We need to
Right.
find out. So, okay. But I do think it's incumbent on the board to know what they're authorizing, so.
Yeah.
Especially if for the grant application itself, the supervisor is required to sign.
Yeah,
it
I have to sign it, yeah.
As a shared space.
Yeah.
application. We've been through this many times before.
Yeah, anyway, it's okay, we'll just ask for
Yeah, yeah,
details,
yeah.
that's reasonable,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
it's that-
There have been some difficulties. with
Great,
Mhm.
so thanks for bringing that up, I had it scrolled down and forgot about it, so, great. Anything else? So with that, I'll offer a motion to adjourn,
I'll second it.
seconded by Michelle. Anybody want to talk about it? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting is adjourned at 9:02. Thank you, Velvet.
Good night, Velvet.
Good night, Velvet.
Good night, Velvet.
Good night, Becky. Good night, Barry.
Becky? Oh, good night, Barry.
Good night.
All right,
Good night. So, and welcome, Jonathan,
thanks.
to your
Yeah.
first meeting.
First meeting.
Lots of voting happening.
And so let's see, so I need to stop recording.